When you think of Canada and immigration, what comes to mind first? Most people instantly picture Chinese, Indian, or European immigrants shaping the country's culture and economy. And yes, those groups are large and influential, but here's the twist. The community that's quietly growing, shaping, and redefining Canada in ways many don't realize is Filipinos. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. Canada just admitted it. Filipinos are no longer just a minority presence. They're one of the most vital immigrant groups in the country. And the numbers don't lie. Today, there are close to 1 million Filipinos living in Canada, making them the third largest immigrant group nationwide. That's massive, especially when you realize that most of this growth happened only in the last 3 decades. Think about that for a second. Just 1 or 2 generations ago, Filipinos were barely a visible community in Canada. Then came the surge. Caregivers, nurses, construction workers, IT professionals, wave after wave, they not only arrived, but thrived. But why does this matter to you watching right now? Because this isn't just a story about Canada. It's about what happens when an entire nation begins to recognize the worth of Filipinos, not just as employees, but as partners in nation building. Now here's where things get interesting. Many Canadians are only beginning to understand the scale of the Filipino contribution. Did you know that in Toronto and Vancouver, entire districts are now heavily shaped by Filipino businesses, churches, and cultural groups? Walk through Scarborough in Ontario and you'll find Filipino restaurants, bakeries, community centers, and even Filipino politicians making their mark. And yet, despite all this growth, there's still a sense of surprise whenever Canadians hear the truth. Because the stereotype they've held on to is this: immigrants come to Canada for opportunity, but rarely transform the country itself. The Filipinos are rewriting that story. Here's an example. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the most underreported facts was this: a huge percentage of Canada's frontline healthcare workers were Filipino. Nurses, caregivers, cleaners, essential staff, they held the line when hospitals were overwhelmed. And in Canadian media, this truth came out. Without Filipinos, the healthcare system would have collapsed even faster. But that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is what Canada quietly admitted, that Filipinos weren't just helping out. They were, in many cases, carrying more than their share of the burden. And Canadians noticed, families noticed, government officials noticed, and the conversation shifted from Filipinos are good workers to Filipinos are indispensable. And yet, here's the open loop we need to keep in mind. If Filipinos are becoming Canada's backbone, what does that mean for the Philippines itself? Is the nation gaining, or is it losing too much talent to overseas migration? Hold that thought, because we'll circle back. For now, let's go deeper. Filipinos in Canada aren't just filling jobs, they're also reshaping Canada's culture. Take the annual Taste of Manila Festival in Toronto. It attracts over 350,000 visitors each year, making it one of the largest street festivals in the city. Or the fact that Canadian TV stations now regularly cover Filipino cultural events, from Independence Day parades to singing contests. It's no longer just immigrant culture, it's mainstream. But here's where the shift really hits. Filipinos are moving from being just employees to becoming employers, entrepreneurs, and decision makers. From business owners running chains of restaurants, to tech professionals leading startups, to politicians like Filipino-Canadian MP Rachel Valdez, the first Filipino woman elected to Canada's House of Commons. Then the Canadian government itself began acknowledging in reports and speeches that the Filipino community is vital to the nation's future. It's no longer just a hidden contribution, it's official. So what does this mean for you? It means that the perception of Filipinos globally is changing. When a country like Canada openly admits that Filipinos are not just part of their present, but crucial to their future, it changes the way the world looks at every Filipino, including you. Imagine the power of that. For decades, Filipinos abroad were seen as hardworking, yes, but often underappreciated. Now, the narrative is shifting. Canada is saying it out loud. We need you, we value you, we respect you. And that's why I want you to engage with this moment right now. If you believe Filipinos deserve recognition in Canada, type respect in the comments below. Flood the comment section with respect so the world knows this is bigger than just numbers. This is about dignity, honor, and the Filipino story being recognized at last. But here's the kicker. This is only the beginning, because if you think Canada's respect is just about culture or community, you'd be mistaken. Canada just admitted something far more urgent, something that affects their very survival as a nation. And guess who's at the center of it? Filipinos. We'll uncover that in the next segment. Stay with me. Now here's where things get even more eye-opening. On the surface, Canada looks like it's thriving. Polite smiles, clean cities, endless opportunities. But underneath, there's a serious gap. Canada's population is aging faster than most developed nations, with nearly 1 in 5 Canadians already over the age of 65. That means one thing: the country is running out of young workers to keep its economy alive. And guess who's been stepping up in massive numbers? Filipinos. In fact, according to Statistics Canada, more than 957,000 Filipinos now call Canada home, making them one of the largest immigrant groups in the country. But here's the twist. Many of them didn't arrive through luxury visas or golden passports. They came through something far tougher, the caregiver program, where thousands of Filipinos left their families behind to care for Canadian seniors, children, and people with disabilities. But then, while the program filled a desperate need for Canada, it also created heartbreaking stories for Filipinos. Imagine this: a mother from Manila spends years raising another family's kids in Toronto while her own children grow up without her back home. That's not just a statistic. It's a silent sacrifice repeated thousands of times over. Then came the shift. Canada realized it couldn't just rely on temporary caregivers forever. So it opened pathways for permanent residency, allowing many Filipinos to finally bring their families and build new lives. Today, Filipinos are no longer just filling care jobs. They're thriving as nurses, engineers, business owners, and even politicians, shaping Canada's future. But here's the tension. While Canada depends heavily on Filipino workers, many Filipinos still feel overlooked. Long working hours, underappreciated labor, and slow recognition of foreign credentials mean that a nurse in Manila often ends up working as a caregiver in Vancouver, even with years of experience. It raises a tough question. Is Canada truly valuing Filipinos or just using them to patch its labor shortage? Quick pause. What do you think? Are Filipinos in Canada finally getting the respect and recognition they deserve? Or are they still being boxed into the same roles? Drop your thoughts in the comments with the word respect fifth. If you believe it's time, Canada gave back more than just job offers. But here's the other side of the story. While Filipinos thrive abroad, building futures that many of us can only dream about, the Philippines itself is quietly suffering. Every year, thousands of skilled nurses, engineers, caregivers, and IT specialists leave. That brain drain doesn't just hurt the economy, it drains communities of leadership, innovation, and hope. Rural towns struggle to find teachers, hospitals face critical staffing shortages, local businesses can't hire the talent they need, and yet there's little systemic effort to stop this exodus. While abroad, Filipinos are celebrated, at home, they are often overlooked. Then comes the revelation that truly shocks. Canada's policymakers aren't just happy to have Filipino workers. They are actively framing Filipinos as a lifeline for the country. With an aging population and a labor market that's struggling to fill essential roles, Canada has admitted, sometimes indirectly in policy papers, sometimes outright in public statements, that their long-term prosperity depends on Filipino talent. They aren't just temporary hires, they are an integral part of Canada's national strategy. The demand is only growing, and the opportunities for Filipinos abroad are becoming more lucrative and influential by the year. Now let's tie this to a bigger transformation. This isn't just about jobs or higher salaries. It's about the role Filipinos are playing in shaping a nation's culture, identity, and future. Every Filipino nurse who walks into a Canadian hospital brings not only expertise, but also empathy, warmth, and a sense of community. Every Filipino IT professional building systems for multinational corporations influences how Canada innovates and competes globally. And every Filipino entrepreneur launching a business overseas contributes to the Canadian economy in ways that ripple far beyond their immediate circle. Imagine for a moment that the Filipino influence in Canada isn't temporary or incidental. It's foundational. And here's the emotional hook that hits hard. Imagine this. In 20 years, your children or grandchildren could be leading Canadian hospitals, pioneering breakthroughs in technology, or even shaping policies in Canadian politics. Think about it. A future where a Filipino mayor, governor, or even prime minister is not just possible, but likely, given the current trajectory. These aren't far-off dreams. They are real possibilities because Canada is giving Filipino talent the platform, recognition, and respect they deserve. But here's the curiosity loop that keeps me thinking. If Canada values Filipinos so highly, if their leaders are willing to openly acknowledge their essential role, when will the Philippines itself do the same? When will Filipino talent be celebrated, nurtured, and given the same opportunities to shape the nation at home? How long will it take for the country that gave birth to this resilient, capable, and visionary workforce to stop treating them as replaceable labor and start treating them as nation builders? These are questions that few dare to ask aloud, but they matter more than ever as the gap between opportunity abroad and opportunity at home continues to widen. And that brings us to you right here, right now. If you've ever dreamed of seeing Filipinos recognized for the power and potential we carry, it's time to make your voice heard. Type honor in the comments if you believe Canada's respect for Filipinos should be a model for the whole world. Let's spark a conversation, let's challenge assumptions, and let's imagine a future where Filipinos are celebrated both abroad and at home, not just for their work, but for the influence, leadership, and cultural impact we bring to every corner of the world. Because here's the truth, the world is watching. Canada has admitted it. Now it's time for the Philippines to catch up, and the sooner we demand recognition, the sooner Filipino talent can thrive without borders shaping not just foreign nations, but our own country's future as well. The stage is set, the players are ready, and the question now is, will the Philippines rise to honor its people the way the world already has?